He's going to hang on. Oh, don't stop the fight. Down he goes. Oh, he's hurt. It's all over.
I told you today, I'm still the greatest of all time. Never again defeat me. Never again say that I'm going to be defeated.
I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
They've thrown the towel in. The fight's all over. The fight's all over.
This is referee Mark Goddard, and it's your time to enter the FightMad zone. Get ready for 5 rounds of uninterrupted FightMad talk. I want you to keep it clean, protect yourself at all times, and remember, no blows below the belt. If you want to touch gloves, do it now. Go back to your corners. Let's do this.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the FightMad Podcast, hosted by myself, Joe Long from Fighters Inc., as we approach our 25th year in the combat sports industry. Got to say a massive thank you to everybody which has been tuning in. Absolutely overwhelmed by the response. It's been amazing. Honestly, we couldn't ask for more as a brand new podcast from day one with Michael Bisping to now on episode 4. It's been amazing. If you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button. We're available on all podcast platforms. And if you want to see this ugly face, you can catch us on YouTube as well. Today's guest, I'm absolutely delighted to have on. Since the day I met this man or young person, up until today, he has not changed one bit. And I'm delighted to welcome to the show 3 letters, MVP, Michael Venom Page, absolute superstar, absolute gentleman. And right now, he is the #1 contender for the Bellator Welterweight World Championship. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the FightMad Podcast. Welcome to the FightMad Zone, the one and only Michael Venom Page. We've known each other for many years. Worked on many shows together, whether that be the Steny show, the 10K Karate Clash, Bellator after parties. We've done it all together. And every time I've worked with you, it's been an amazing time, an easy time. It's not like work when we work with each other.
Yeah, no, definitely. I have to say, like, it goes the same both ways. Like, I've looked up to you since I was young. Seen your grind, seen your hustle, seen what you do, and it's been very inspirational for me. And just being able to know you, speak to you, get advice from you on certain things. It's been a massive pleasure. So massive thank you, massive shout out to you as well. Thank you,
Michael, man. Thanks for coming on. And what's Michael Venom Page been up to lately?
I've been on a crazy grind. I'm trying to the main thing that I've done of recent is I went on a new fast called the Superman fast. Yeah. Now, the reason I wanted to do that is that I just felt like my body just needed a reset, because after every fight, after every weight cut, I felt myself, I just explode and get bigger and bigger and bigger. It was getting heavier and heavier. So I was like, I just feel like my body needs a reset. I was getting loads of injuries and just constant. I thought, like, let me do something. Let me try something. A good friend of mine, Marvin Francis, also like my brother, another guy that's done it as well, Simon Lewis. You might remember him from back in the day. He also did the Superman fast, and they kind of put me onto it. Marvin was really really helped me with the days that I was supposed to do what, and it's basically like 6 days just water, then it's like 250 mils juice in the morning, water, 250 mils juice in the evening, water for another 2 days, then another 4 days a juice in the morning with a salad in the evening, and then basically finished. But I literally dropped I was 92 and got to 81 by the end of it. And since then, I've basically sat around 8. The heaviest I've been is probably today. which was 83. And yeah, my body just seems to be comfortable back at this weight. I still feel strong. A lot of people are looking at me and they're like, they genuinely believe that I'm heavier than they're like, oh man, you're looking quite big, because I've been doing a lot more weight training, a lot more. I've been doing calisthenics as well, and it's just, I just feel great at the moment.
Brilliant. I actually see I see an online clip with you on the bar.
Yeah,
I think it was a couple of days ago with the elastic, and you was looking in amazing shape. And but that Superman sounds like a beast. That mentally, that must be tough to get your head around that.
I think that's what it was as well. It is definitely, for anybody that is, want to do it, it's definitely physical and mental stress. Do you know what I mean? Day 3 was like, I think that on the second day in the evening, I was getting a bit of headaches as well. And then day 3 was horrible, man. From start to finish, right the way through. I just felt like shit. I felt so bad, man. Like I was tired. I just felt like, you feel like you're in the daze, because I was still training right the way through. Obviously I told my coach, so he's like, all right, cool, we're gonna ease off of any of the sparring, because I'm only on liquids, so it's gonna be quite difficult. But obviously he's still trying to push me. Man, I was in bits, but I think that day 3 is important to go through. And then after that, day 4, although I still felt bad, was better than day 3. And then day 5 was better than day 3. So I still felt good. And then when I was able to have my first juice, it's so weird. It powered me for the whole day. That one small juice, it's almost like having a shot. One small juice. And then I realized at that point, I was like, we just eat for the sake of eating. Because the fact that can power me, I remember I'm still training, that powered me for the whole day. And there's one day, because Marvin would go and he did me a favor, and he actually went down to go get the juices and bring it down for me on the certain days. And on those days, I tend to get the juice later in the day than I would normally, because I have a certain amount of juice for a few days. And on that day, I usually get it around midday, and it makes a difference for me waking up and having that first shot, feeling cool, to having to wait to the afternoon for that shot, and you're just like, I was just out of it. You know what I mean? I start training earlier, and there's one time I was like, I had to run to the shop I was just gonna go get extra water, and as I ran to the shop, he popped around the corner with the juice, and I felt like a crackhead, man. I was just like, oh, give it to me, give it to me.
That's not no regular juice.
No, I'm telling you, man. And I had it, and I swear to you, just the whole session, I just felt different, man. I felt great. It's so funny though.
Brilliant. Great story. So you charged up, you juiced up, you watered to the nines. You ready to go into the FightMad zone, Michael Page?
Oh man, seriously, I just know this next fight, when it comes, I'm gonna be very different. Do you know what I mean? It's gonna be 10 times easier for me to cut weight as well. Because I know I'm not looking to get, I don't want to, because I'm obviously doing the weights. I understand I'm gonna get heavier. But I'm gonna get heavier with a lot more strength. I don't really want to go too far past. I'll probably, the maximum I want to go to is at 86 kgs. And like I said, before doing all of this, I was at 95 sometimes. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot to go from 95 and cut all the way down to 77. And then again, it didn't matter what I did. The next day I could eat something small, and just my body just wants to blow back up. And I feel like now I've almost tricked it into being like, no, relax. You can process food and let it go. You need to hold on to it. And I feel more flexible, stronger. It's weird how I feel. It's hard to explain, but I definitely feel like I've just stepped into a new body. So I'm looking forward to going back into action.
Well, the new body's stepping into the FightMad zone right now. You ready for round one, Mike?
Let's get it.
Seconds out, round one.
So you've been in a few scraps, and probably been in a few outside of the cage, the ring, the mat as well. A few, maybe a few. What is MVP's first ever fight memory?
Oh, first ever fight memory. Okay, it's difficult. because I started so young.
Three,
and I think
3 years of age?
Yeah, 3 years old. So it's my memory of that combat at the time. I don't know if it was when I was actually 3, but it's the youngest memory I would probably have. It was actually in class. I remember because all my siblings trained as well, so I was training. I remember getting just whacked in the face and just crying like a baby. Like, we was actually doing technique, but I just misjudged the block and just got punched in my face. But it just hurt. Obviously, you just at that age, it's just a shock of it. But the approach that not only, obviously, my dad was my instructor, so the approach that he had and everybody else wasn't of like molly cuddling me. It's kind of like, jump back up, man. You go, just do it again. You'll get it. And I'm busy like crying my eyes out, bloody bogey in my nose. And he said, just do it again. You can just don't worry about it. Like, ignore that pain. Don't worry. Come on, just do it again. And just jumping up and just having to practice it again. And just for me, I think it was just a kind of weird learning process of being able to overlook some pain, basically. And I've been in multiple situations since, the same kind of thing where you get hit or you get caught, and then your brain is automatically just going like, okay, just come on, let's go, let's keep going. And I think it's a great attitude to have. It's difficult. Not most people can kind of get sucked into that, the emotional trauma of it. But I think it was just, for me, up till today, there's certain times I've gone through hardships or whatever, and it doesn't last too long. You know what I mean? You get annoyed at yourself, you get frustrated, or you're upset, you're angry, and it doesn't last too long. And then you just keep moving forward. So it's an early memory that's lasted a long time.
It sounds like it's stuck with you.
Yeah, definitely.
That's for sure. And you started at a very young age, Michael. And I must say, rest in peace to your father, Curtis, who I also knew and was very well respected within the freestyle and open circuit back then. I suppose. As you grew older within the club, what was your first actual memory of competing, out of interest?
Trying to think. Weird enough, it's a memory. I know I was older. Probably about 9 or 10, but it just stuck with me because I got whooped so bad.
So we go into your first competition.
Yeah, so my first competition, I was 5 years old, but I don't quite remember it.
Okay,
you know what I mean,
right.
So it's still, like I said, my first memory, young memory, was probably about 9 when I remember competing, and it's only because I got beaten up so bad, but it was by a good friend of mine now, somebody I've always kind of respected in that game. And it's always what I loved about our sport is you had people that you get to compete with quite regularly. I'd travel the world with these people. Do you know what I mean? So you spend a lot of time with them, and when you have somebody that you can kind of chase, it's not like a one-off experience. You're always on their back. It helps you grow quicker. And it was Robbie Hughes.
Oh, big shout out to Robbie. I know, no Robbie. Massive. I think Robbie probably competed in a 10K karate clash with yourself.
Yeah.
So great fight. Alfie Lewis student.
Yeah. Alfie Lewis,
and sharp as anything.
Yeah, something else. But what I liked about Robbie, obviously he's got that kind of fiery attitude, but the whole Liverpool freestyle squad had that. You know what I mean? If you're fighting them, you're in for a fight. It's not it's not a competition. It's a scrap. But Robbie's always had that. Obviously, he was always like shorter, and I was quite tall for my age, and he was a little bit older than me. So I was used to kind of fighting older kids. You know what I mean? So they tend to be more developed, especially when you're younger. But you know, I got there quite quickly, but yeah, he just put a whooping on me, man. That's one. I just remember. I can't remember exactly where we was, but I just remember going in there, seeing this guy, and like, yeah, come on, let's go. And just no matter what I did, like I got side kick to the face, punch in the face, sweat, this, that. I just got absolutely destroyed. And he's just somebody that I'd continue watching. And what I loved about watching him is if you filmed his fights and you took his opponent away, like out of that visual, it would look like he's training. Like his techniques were still so on point, where sometimes you can get quite scrappy when it's a fight. Although you've trained, to do it technically, you adjust and things are not always going to be as straightforward. But his kicks just look like I'm still just training. I'm still practicing. His punches is still practicing. But then there was a mad ferociousness that came with it as well. So I've always been a fan of his. And again, obviously we've grown over the years and we've become like good friends as well. But he's a beast, man.
He's a beast, great guy and great businessman as well. So shout out to Robbie Hughes. In fact, he's on my list to get on here one day as an insider, and because he's nearing on celebrity now, right? Online with the work he does, within his dentistry world. But great lead into round two, Mike.
Round two.
MVP's favorite fighter of all time and why?
I've got a few. Robbie definitely is one of them, but that was in the freestyle world. Someone I mentioned earlier, Simon Lewis, who was somebody that was kind of like part of my team, London Predators at the time. He was just a superstar on the circuit at the time, so I've definitely always looked up to him. He was the man. He ended up leaving and going into boxing, doing well, and then he's just kind of traveling the world, trying to just being a superhero now, just saving people. He's in Thailand now, so he's someone that I've always looked up to in the martial arts. Watching the likes of like the Alfie Lewises when I was younger, they were inspiring. I was just kind of soaking how all these guys fought. My dad being another one, his kicks he's just known for his crazy kicking ability. In the boxing world, back in the day, I got into Pernell Whitaker, just his style. I was massively into Sweet Peas, kind of like just how his flair, how he just loved to have fun. And that's something that I've obviously soaked into my style. And it's funny because my dad was the same. He's a person that would kind of add that showmanship as well as go to beat people. The obvious is like Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson for his ferociousness. I think those were my main. And then like in terms of like on screen, I'd say Jackie Chan by far. So I had those kind of like, I get influenced by anything that I watch. It doesn't have to be just direct combat like person. Like I said, he's more, obviously Jackie Chan's an on-screen martial artist, but I would look at some of his moves and still be inspired and try them when I get into training. So I think those are the kind of people that I was into.
I can see what you're saying with everyone you mentioned there with their flair. That's obviously rubbed off with you. If you was to choose one athlete across the whole spectrum, who are you going with?
Man.
I know it's a tough one. Everyone says it's a tough one, but we need one answer, MVP.
One person. I'll keep it because I think the person that's influenced me the most, it'd have to be my dad.
Tremendous. Great answer. Great answer. Great answer. Can't say anything more than that, can we? We can't say anything more than that. Tell us a little bit about your dad, Michael, and what sort of man he was for you growing up as a son and also as a student, I suppose, because there's two hats what you've got to wear. I mean, there's a lot of people in martial arts which grow up that way. Jordan Thomas from karate is a prime example. I think Wonder Boy is also a prime example in the UFC. Where the father wears two caps. Hoist Gracie, another example.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about Curtis.
It's he's just he's always been such a sociable person, which is that's definitely something that's rubbed off on me. He just enjoyed being around people. He enjoyed helping people. There's so many. There was like sounds weird, like even when he passed at his funeral. There's so many people that I don't remember that was there, and just telling stories that I've never heard of. Of how he's helped them with this or how he's done this for them, and but that was him. He's always been that type of kind of personality. Loves to talk. That's definitely something I always remember of him. I think everyone does. We was always the last people to leave the competition because like everyone's finished fighting, but my dad's still doing the rounds, chatting to everybody. Catching up with everybody, and just loved combat. He made it his whole life. He was a BT technician before, and he actually got into martial arts quite late. Consider obviously like for myself getting in at 3, that's a young age. I think he started at about 22, I believe, which is relatively late, but just fell in love with the art. Do you know what I mean? Fell in love with Glaugar Kung Fu, which is what he started out with, Master Yao and Master Stan Brown, which is weird because Master Stan Brown is my cousin on my mother's side. Which is why I'm cousins with Mark Brown as well. He was obviously a good fighter back in the day as well on the freestyle circuit. But yeah, it's he just his flair. He's a person that I think that's definitely his Trinidadian side, dancing when he was fighting and stuff, and kick somebody in the head, jump back, and get the crowd going. He was he definitely, for martial art was 100% like something that he made everything about him. He's a very family oriented person, and I think that also showed in his martial arts. So his team was his family as well. And you could see the amount he tried to help you in anything. If he had, this guy could have £2 in his pocket, and if you needed 10, he'd find a way to get you £10. You know what I mean? That's just how he is. Sometimes to his own downfalls, but he'd prefer to help you and then continue struggling. That was just kind of him. And obviously, as a father, he could be quite not strict per se, but he was firm. You know what I mean? You couldn't mess about. Well, I remember being in competitions, seeing all the other kids like running around after because the kids would go first, and obviously the adults would start fighting. Like later on, we had to kind of stick around to wait for all the adults on our team to finish before we could go home. So you kind of, as a kid, you just want to run around and just we're finished our job. We want to run around. He's like, nope, you still represent us. Like all the kids will come up, oh, Michael, come play, and I'm like, yeah, nah, I gotta sit down and watch. Can't do anything. Like he was firm, and he understood the importance of me still observing other people's behaviors, and obviously being aware of my own behavior as well in terms of how I carry myself. And he's very he's very proud of his name, and whatever everybody that he brings forward, he makes them the same. Be proud of your team that you represent, be proud of your name, and carry yourself a certain way. And he was always that way. But then he had a fiery side as well. Again, I think that comes out of all combat athletes. But yeah, it's just definitely just a great person. And like I said, you don't hear much negative about him, just because for anybody that actually knows him, you don't hear anything negative, because he just does so much, and has done so much for a lot of people.
Indeed. And I must actually say, when I was coming through as a relatively young promoter, he actually was very supportive of the events I'd done, and had some encouraging words to say to me. So I thank him from that. And it's funny, them little things, they never leave you. When someone a fair bit older sort of pulls you to the side and sort of says, I like what you're doing. you know, keep doing this type thing. Words of encouragement, you know, they go a long way, and I thank him for that. So you've just brought that into my head. I can actually remember it at Crystal Palace. We done an event with I don't know if you was there. We done an event, karate v freestyle. I don't know if you was there, and we co-promoted it with Neville Ray, and it was an absolutely crazy event. Your dad had some words of encouragement for me. So just thought I'd throw that one out there. We're gonna go into round three.
Round three.
What is MVP's biggest fight which he's had to overcome in life?
If I'm being honest, probably a weird one. Say weird one, but biggest fight is breaking habits. Like, I'm talking personally. Someone who kind of highlighted that for me is like, she's my best friend now. We was together for 6 years, Sabah. So Sabah kids, so be just in a relationship, when you have somebody that actually challenges you, in past relationships, before, I was used to getting away with whatever I wanted to get away with, basically. Just the more like dominant one in the relationship, and then you got someone that's quite fiery in Sabah, and then you couldn't get away with anything. She challenged you at every step, but what it did is it forced me to second guess it. Like, is it me? Like, am I making, instead of just pointing the finger like, well, it's just, and just argue about it, kind of learn how to challenge myself, and then just change it. That was a massive change and shift in my kind of personal mentality in terms of looking at the man in the mirror all the time. So, and going back there, because I feel people don't do that enough. After a while, we get set in our own ways, and that's it. You know what I mean? We don't, you know, we tend to not shift once we've kind of found ourselves to a degree. We don't like to change. And people in general don't like change. Full stop. But I've learned to kind of live in that uncomfortable place and constantly just kind of just check myself again and just be like, yeah, I probably need to do better with that. Yeah, and then just keep bringing it back to myself. And I think, and it's difficult to do, because like I say, especially when you've been getting away with certain things for so long, it's very difficult to even feel the need to want to. Do you know what I mean? So it is something, I think for me, that's the biggest challenge, and it's an ongoing challenge. It's one that, even, especially when you feel so right in what you're doing, to even have to ask the question is difficult. But going back and then being like, you know what, I could probably still be that little bit better, even if it's small, probably be a little bit better, you know. That for me is probably the hardest thing, and like I said, it's something that's ongoing all the time.
Wow, that's quite deep, Mike. Quite deep on that one. I wasn't expecting that answer, but it's a great one. Can you give us one gem? What Sabah's changed with you?
Like I said, for me, it was more the being challenged, though.
The whole thing.
Yeah, the whole thing is more just being challenged. Like I say, strong mind, and the confusion is like, why? It's more like, why are you like this? Like, what's wrong? Again, you constantly point the finger at the other person. Like, why are you like this? Like, why are you doing that? What's wrong? And then it took me a little while to figure out that there's certain things that I have to do to get different responses. Again, I'm so, as they say, is common phrase, to do the same thing every day and expect different results is insanity. And that's what you're basically doing, and the people basically do a lot. You know, constantly wrapped yourself doing the same thing and then complaining about the result you're getting, even though it's you yourself haven't changed. So I always try to take it away from other people's control. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if something's happened, what did I do wrong? Do you know what I mean? As to why I'm here, because I know I can then at least fix something that I'm doing, but I can't. It's hard to fix somebody else. It's just, you know, it's very difficult to fix somebody else or try to help somebody else, especially if they don't want to be helped. So yeah, for me, that's just, it's just being challenged. No specific thing is that whole thing.
Yeah. No, I get it. I mean, you know, my wife Lorraine, and you know, she's a fiery one too, I must say. so you know, I get the questioning and the why and the who and the how. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's a good thing to keep you on your toes.
Exactly. Just having someone that can just but that has good intentions for you. That keeps that keeps you on your toes and checks you.
That's right. Because sometimes, I mean, especially as an athlete, and you know, also as a promoter, there's certain people which you know, you could say, go and put your head in the oven, and they'd go and do it. You know, let's be honest. You know, or why don't you jump off that cliff? And they'll run and jump off the cliff. You know, brilliant. So we're going to go into the championship rounds now, Michael.
Cool.
We're going to hit round 4.
Round 4.
Your walkouts, music, big part of your life. We know you like rolling with 50 Cent. We've recently seen you in a music video with Getz and Stormzy. And also you've been rapped, sang, I don't know, walked into the cage by Big Nasty, who I know is a good friend of yours as well. What is MVP's biggest musical inspiration?
Biggest musical inspiration. It's a great question.
And I know you're going to tell me a whole genre of music.
And
you're going to tell me a whole heap of people, but we need the one. We need the one.
Ah, man. So I'd say more because I was raised on this particular genre of music, and it just pushes and pulls me. I'd say reggae music. I'd zone into only because I was raised on, you know, my mum, aunties, uncles, or listening to it. When I went to Jamaica, and just hearing just for the first time, I think it was 7 or 8, and just soaking in the culture over there. I'd say, and just that whole kind of like carnival vibes in my blood, and just that kind of, because it can be high energy, it can be relaxing, it can push and pull you anywhere. So reggae music for me is definitely something that is important, and what kind of helps with, you know, what makes MVP.
Brilliant. And can we pick an artist out or a sound out?
Man, that's difficult.
You can't just give me genre, Mike. We need to go in. You know.
One person. Yes, one person. I'm not a person that kind of sticks to any one person for. Like, obviously, I'll listen to over and over again, but my range of music is so wide. I think one person. I'd say someone like, man, that's so difficult. It's so difficult. I genuinely struggle to pick one person.
It's the first time I've ever seen MVP lost for words.
Yeah, I'm lost. I lost. So I like such a wide range of everything. And like I said, I never really just stick to one person for too long. Or there's people like, you know, like anything, you kind of like, you might like an album and you just rinse that album.
Yeah.
You move on. But it's still like, I'm never just like, oh yeah, I'm obsessed with that one person per se. The only person I'd say that I've stuck to, I'd say musically, near enough every album or every song that kind of has he had brought out would be like Michael Jackson. But again, it's just completely different style of music.
Completely different genre, yeah.
Yeah. That's the only first person I can say that, you know, like that was genuinely, my mom even told me the first music I ever hummed to as a baby was Michael Jackson Bad.
Really?
Yeah, literally I barely crawling. I could just sit up and I would just like rock and hum to Michael Jackson Bad. So I'd say Michael Jackson is definitely, again, another person that's been an inspiration for music, musically in my whole life. But I think most people could say that to a degree. Maybe not as much for the youngers nowadays, but most people, especially my age and older, that Michael Jackson was so big and has inspired so many different artists that we know of now. Like, yeah, he'd only one person I could zone into.
Brilliant. So we're gonna go with Michael Jackson for your biggest musical inspiration, but reggae obviously played a big part in your life growing up.
Yeah.
You talk about Jamaica, Michael, and when you know going there and soaking up the music. I actually go to Jamaica every other year, and have done for many years. And I actually say to people that you always hear Bob Marley in Jamaica, but it's actually different. It sounds different in Jamaica to when it does in your car or indoors. Do you get that vibe?
Yeah, it's just, you know what it is, because you're just soaking up everything.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah.
It's completely different. So, it almost sounds like a different song.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
It's like the environment gives you a completely different feeling.
Yeah. Because it's the experience you're taking in, and just you're listening to the words and feeling everything at the same time.
You're feeling it, yeah,
definitely.
Completely different vibe. So if you go into Jamaica, people, and you hear Bob Marley, it's different to in your car or in your house. From my perspective, I think
I agree. But just Jamaica in general, I say again, obviously I got Caribbean roots, not only Jamaica, Trinidad, and in Trinidad, I think Trinidad is one place that when I went to, as soon as I got there, I was like, yeah, I'm home. Like that doesn't feel like I have to. It didn't feel there was no effort to kind of like figuring myself out. I felt like I was at home immediately. And it was a weird one because when I went over there, it's weird. My dad had actually left a day ahead of us, and I say us is me and Kalon, my younger brother. Yes, when we landed, I'm expecting to see my dad's face. You know, that's going to be the familiar face. He's going to introduce me to the family. But we didn't realize that he had got stuck because there was like a storm or something. They ended up staying a night in I forget where they had to land, like Puerto Rico or something. So they ended up staying an extra night. So we actually landed there before him, which was weird. So I've got off. Now we're looking for him. Can't find him. You know what I mean? We had lost our bags as well. So I was stuck there with my younger brother. Like I don't know what to do. And weirdly enough, these two ladies came over to us and was like, what's your names? And I was looking at Kate. I'm like, I don't know if you should trust these random strangers. Come to find they were our aunties, and they just saw, they'd never met us before, but obviously they saw how we look and just kind of like, that's Curtis's sons. So we told her, I said, I'm Michael. She just gave us a big hug, squeeze. And it was like, yeah, don't worry, your dad got left in such and such. And she explained everything. Took us to our grands where we were going to be staying. And I swear she just felt like home. And the next day when my dad landed, he was looking for his bags, saw Michael Page, saw Kalon Page, and just ended up bringing the bags with him when he the next day. But seriously, Trinidad was definitely another place for me that is just like home, definitely.
Brilliant. I know when you maybe a year or two ago, you took a little bit of time out and done a bit of traveling, didn't you?
Yeah.
So you like your traveling.
I love it. I love going. I think that's another important lesson for anybody. If you're just to go and experience different cultures, you know, go and experience different, because especially in London, like raised in London, there's so many different cultures. I feel like you can misunderstand people very quickly if you've never experienced their culture.
100%. 100%.
Certain things you can find offensive that if you understood like their country and their culture and how they live, you're like, oh no. So, he's this, he's from here, and I get it. You know what I mean? And I feel people should just travel just to open their minds and widen their horizons with culture.
100%. 100%. And on them journeys lead us lovely to round 5, final round in the Fight Mad Zone.
Round 5.
You're well traveled, you're well competed. If MVP was to create his dream corner team for life, past and present, we need 3 people, and why? It's a tough one.
Weirdly enough, yeah, this one is not so tough for me.
Really?
Yeah, this one's not difficult for me at all.
You had more of a problem with with round 4.
100%. So you try to make me select music. Nah, it's mad. But nah, this one is not tough for me at all because I've had very few coaches. I've been coached by other people, and especially like in the freestyle world. Sometimes, when I qualify for the England team, they only allow the England coaches to coach you. When we went to the WKAs or the WACOs or the IASCA or wherever.
Same with most traditional martial arts. So if our listeners out there don't know, it's quite a good education actually. Mm. If you compete for a club, wherever that is in the country, and then you get to a national, international level, your club coach basically has to let go of the reins. And then you become, the national coach's student.
Yeah,
and to move forward internationally. I suppose the same with football, boxing. I was going to say
boxing because a lot of boxing guys in the amateurs. The coach that gets you to the Olympics is not the coach that then continues to coach you in the professional side. And I feel that's a weird one for me because I love the people that if they developed you, they know. I feel like they know you way more. But just the system, how it works, unless you've got a professional license, you can't even coach anyway. So they got to do their own thing. And so, but yeah. So for me, firstly, my dad, and he was one of those. It was one of those. This was always going to be a difficult one for me in the sense that when I feel like he was. I think he's a great coach, great instructor. Biasly speaking, but I've seen that he's produced multiple world champions and I've seen people how he's helped people just progress to different levels. But he's that one person I knew when I left him, I thought it was going to be very difficult to find another him, somebody that's on that kind of wave. He's that kind of person that when you're in a competition, it's loud and he could probably whisper and I'd still hear what he's saying. You know what I mean? Because you're just in tune with his voice and what he said. You're almost looking for it. Your brain is literally studying exactly that thing. So, and he's a very technical person as well. So 100%, he's one of the people that will be in my corner.
So number one up is Curtis Page. And remember, this question, Michael, is for life. This is your dream team for life.
Yeah. 100%. That's why I already know.
Curtis Page, number one. Number two.
So, number two, I'm going to put them both together.
Two and three?
2 and 3.
2 and 3 come as a package.
They're going to come as a package because my dad basically said to me when I left, and I said to him, like, look, Dad, I want to do MMA. When I actually made that decision, like, I want to get into mixed martial arts. He again, and I think this is where you get certain coaches that are selfish. And because I know for a fact, certain coaches, if I said that to them, they'll be like, yeah, cool, let's let us both go over, I'll make sure I'm still there to do this. He's like, I can't tell you anything about MMA. It's not my world. That's not my field. You can always come back to me and ask me for advice on certain things, and I'll, but that's not my field. So you're going to have to go and find somebody. And that's what he said. And that's what I did. I went to multiple different gyms in the UK, a couple in the States, and then came across the London Shoot Fighters. World-renowned gyms, so on and so forth. To be fair, I didn't even do that much research because we were already just kind of bouncing around. We were just kind of searching gyms and just going there, searching gym, just going there. But it was a place, the second I walked into the gym, just listening to some of the coaches, like the coaches underneath them. I hadn't even spoken to these guys yet. Listening to some of the coaches underneath them, I was like, these guys speak sense, man. They know what they're talking about. I can kind of just tell, even though I didn't understand the game, I could just the way they were coaching and how they were dissecting things, how they were giving the information. I'm like, oh man, okay, let's start training here. Flash forward to working with my number 2 and 3, Alexis and Paul, guys that have been in the game. They never cease to surprise me in terms. Even I remember, I think I'd probably been at the gym for about 2 years, and Alexis was kind of like randomly just telling me a story about something in the past, and he's like, yeah, because I had to do, I've done Aikido, black belt in Aikido, I've done jiu-jitsu, black belt in jiu-jitsu, I've done Olympic lifting, I've done wrestling, I've got to the Olympic team. He just kept reading stuff off, and I'm like, what are you? Like, I know people that spend their whole life on one thing. He's done boxing, they've done bare knuckle fighting, they've just done so much, and they have genuinely dedicated their whole life to just combat. Alexis for me is the scientist. He's the person that every inch matters in a drill. It's, he'll be like, yeah, if you put your foot slightly more on the inside and then you'll land that punch better. And you're like, why do you even know this kind of stuff? You know what I mean? Paul's chain wrestling and knowledge and understanding of, again, the best way to, pull, you shouldn't be putting your leg that way or put your head on the inside and da. Again, it's just science. And I remember watching him wrestle, and he's a very big guy. I remember watching him wrestle, and they were just doing drills, and I was just like, hey, this guy moves like he's a lightweight. It didn't make sense of how smoothly he did it. And as I was watching him, I can almost hear him in my head on the drills that he would tell me to do, and he was executing it perfectly. And again, these 2 people that, again, if they're in your corner, you hear them and they don't have to shout. Alex is another one who's a very authoritative figure who you could have 70, 80,000 people in the room screaming, cheering. I can hear everything he's saying. And I knew that was going to be difficult for me to find that coach. And I'm fortunate enough to have found him. My dad met him once. Came up to actually have a conversation like, look, this is my child, had a conversation with him, and he came back to me and he was like, you're in the right hands. Straight away, like, he's like, yeah, I am, because he was already, as you say, he got the 2 hats on. He was already uncomfortable because it's not a familiar territory. MMA is quite scary looking, even for him, even though he's a martial artist from the outside in, he's like, man, that looks tough. And now my son's gonna go into it. He was very worried. And after speaking to him, he's like, man, you guys are on the right hand. You're in the right hand. Like, I have no issues. And he didn't need to, and never felt the need to intervene in any way, shape, or form. Do you know what I mean? He's like, these guys know what they're talking about. And if I had to have 3 people in my corner, it would be those 3 people.
Tremendous. So Curtis, Alexis, and Paul.
Yes.
From London Shoot. That's the dream team, corner team from MVP. Michael, it's been great to have you on the podcast and go through the 5 rounds. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. What's up next for MVP? I mean, I was flicking through online the other day and I see an NFT come up on NFT community. Yeah. Which big shout out to Fabian on NFT community. Yeah, I know that they posted it out, and I was like, Michael's going in there with the NFTs. Talk to me about your NFT collection, Mike.
Yeah, so we're actually just developing it all now with blockchain labs, just developing all the stuff that we're going to be working on. And I love these guys because they get my creative mind. You know what I mean? And as you've seen from my walk-ins and my celebrations, I'm on that kind of stuff. Like, I love it. So even they were getting excited. I'm telling them like, oh yeah, let's do this and this, and they're just like, yeah, writing notes, and they get it. So the stuff that's gonna come out, I genuinely believe, like, similar to how I like to make noise and stand out, it's gonna be the same with my collection. It's not gonna be your average collection. It's gonna have my personality attached to it, which is always gonna make noise. So I'm looking forward. So we're just developing all that now. I'm also rebranding everything for myself in terms of like my merchandise and stuff. So we've got some sick stuff coming out. That's going to be coming out soon, probably dropping around the same time. So there's a couple of things in the background that's happening. Like I said, I'm training like a beast. Hopefully I'm back out again before the end of this year. I want to try and get 2 in, and maybe a boxing fight. Maybe a boxing fight as well. There's some talks in the background of us trying to organize some stuff. So there's some this year there's some exciting stuff that's going to be happening. Just make sure you pay attention to it all.
100%. So Michael, thank you very much for coming on the FightMad Podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure. And as I said at the top of the show, you have not changed since day one. Michael will be back in action, ladies and gentlemen, on Friday, October the 1st at the SSE Arena, Wembley. If you can't get there live, you can check it out on BBC iPlayer as he faces rival Douglas Lima, who actually KO'd Michael back in May 2019 in the welterweight Grand Prix. This fight has been on Michael's mind ever since. No doubt he wants that revenge. So make sure you tune into MVP. Make sure you tune into Bellator on the 1st of October. Ladies and gentlemen, that's about it from myself, your host, Joe Long, and the FightMad Podcast this week. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, tell your friends about the FightMad Podcast, and also give us a follow at Fighters Inc. I'm your host, Joe Long. Until next time, keep it moving.